Hello again, Grown Black Folks Talk. This is a hard one to title because I want to talk about stuff that's going on. Do you know that most of the people that you know who are acting a fool are really in a struggle with whatever voices they have in their head who told them they can't be this and they can't be that? Some of those voices began all the way back to the history of the United States of America, for especially black men for certain reasons, especially black women for certain reasons. But really, no matter who it is on who's listening to me, you've got those things in your head. And some people are winning the battle and other people are not winning the battle. But I want you to think about something. I've had some very interesting conversations today, and I realize the extent to which we have allowed social media to just take over our lives to a certain extent. You know that we out here online are not real? No, literally, we're not real. Let me show you something. If at any time you are tired of dealing with me, you know what you do? You click a button, and I'm not there anymore. Close the computer down, and that's it. And that's true of everybody on social media. Because, see, you wouldn't sit around and be walking down the street. And if you saw someone boxing with the air, throwing haymakers, doing roundhouse kicks, looking like Chuck Norris, and really got on a bad, got himself some mushrooms and went on a really bad trip, got the wrong dose of LSD and did a really bad trip, doing this stuff to himself and all the rest of this, you wouldn't get close to that person. You would walk away from that. If, and this happens in my neighborhood, you hear people going down the street cussing and carrying on at people that are not even there, you wouldn't get close to that. Why? Because you know that you're going to become the recipient of it if you get too close. Well, a lot of times you got to have that attitude about those of us who are out here online. These people are literally going on about the things in their head. I was talking to someone about a particular YouTube content creator, and he is a bit of a paradox because you never can tell if the person professes being a Christian, you never can tell, and I'll tell you why. A very big paradox from the Civil War illustrates this in American history, but you never can tell. He's talking about the right things. He has the right people on the show, but some black women have been telling me he doesn't sit my spirit. And as I sat there and I talked to them, I thought to myself, it's his logic. So it's not really hitting my soul and my spirit, but my brain is like something's wrong. So probably looking at it from a different direction because from his conversation, he's not healed enough to be doing what he's doing yet. So even though he's doing a good work, it doesn't hit quite right because just like you can't get there from here, that's not how that's done. You probably need a few more years to do some internal work. What you're doing is you're trying to get from other people what you need to make the move forward you say you want to make, but the internal work may not be being done because you're worried about keeping up the externals. But at the same time, you also see him because of the exposure that this gives him an opportunity to do a different kind of ministry that is slowly growing. He may not fully be conscious that God may have put him in here not to do what he thinks he's going to be doing, but to do something else that he is doing effectively. See, sometimes when you have men with a past, and this is true of people in general, sometimes our motivations are blended in such a way that we don't necessarily understand what they are. Probably King David, I believe it was King David in Psalm 45 who wrote, who can understand his errors, cleanse thou me of secret faults. Right down there, like three verses before the end, I believe. It's not Psalm 45. It's in that ballpark. It just came to mind. But he writes this, cleanse thou me from secret faults. Who can understand his errors? Because sometimes we do not even understand the things in our lives that are causing us to make terrible decisions or ill-advised decisions. Now, in David's case, he did not have the Bible like we have the Bible. We know that he did not know it all that well. And remember, he was a shepherd boy when he started his journey. He was a man of the land. He was not his father was well off. He had a lot of sheep, but he was the youngest child. And we know he started, and as soon as he was anointed, he went right back out to keep the sheep. We know that he did not know everything he needed to know in one way that is open, he put the Ark of the Covenant on a cart to bring it up to Jerusalem, and someone died because you're not to touch the Ark of the Covenant. Uzzah died because of that. And that was David's fault because he should have gone and gotten the book and figured out how to do it first, but he didn't know what he didn't know. So this was a secret error, but there's another error that he's practicing. In Deuteronomy, in Leviticus, it talks about how do you carry around the Ark of the Covenant. In Deuteronomy, it says kings are not to take many wives. See, all these people who want to talk about polygamy did not know that David and Solomon were in sin that whole time. David was married to Michal, Saul's daughter, but Saul gave her to someone else out of just spite for David. He was trying to kill David at the moment. Giving away Michal was not the least of what he did. Then he met the most queenly woman probably one of the most queenly women in the Old Testament, Abigail. She was a perfect match for him. And then he added Ahinoam. So he's already up to 3. He's up to about 10. And what a man does when he has a lot of women around is he gets into the habit of taking whatever woman he wants and indulging his lust whenever he wants to. So this continues and continues. He also, by the time we hit 1 Samuel 10, has all these different concubines. So you have 10 wives, you have multiple concubines. And this is why, although I'm sure David didn't get up in the morning meaning to do it, he has been practicing out of control lust his entire kingly reign and a little bit earlier. So guess what? That lust comes and destroys him and leads eventually to the division of the kingdom under Solomon when he sees Bathsheba. But he didn't get up in the morning intending to do that. It was a secret fault that he did not even know that he was cultivating that whole time that caused that. And sometimes what you see is people doing things that they don't even realize that they're messing up because they don't have the knowledge to know that they're messing up, and because the men of their society approve of it by comparison. And then with a Christian, things can get really complicated because of what I call the Robert E. Lee paradox. Confederate commander in chief, the chief man fighting for slavery, went to his grave insisting that the Lord told him to do that. And in retrospect, we can see that he was right. God needed one man in the Confederacy that knew when to give it up. And because Lee surrendered on April 9th, we know this is a big reason why he did it, because he said it to his younger generals. His president, Jefferson Davis, is up here talking about don't surrender. Now that we've lost all our cities, we'll be more effective than ever. His younger generals are sitting there talking about we can fight them from the mountains, we can fight them from the hills. And Robert E. Lee is the only man who can say to both of them, as Christian gentlemen, we can't do that because people will starve. He's the only man available. So he was right. But if you were a Black Christian in 1861, well, really from 1857, but I don't have time to tell that story. From 1867 to 1865, you probably would not have believed it, and I would not have argued with you about it. Only in retrospect, way past June 19th, 1865, can we look back and be like, okay, that's possible. Because sometimes God calls people to do stuff, and they don't know everything because their motivations are mixed up. A lot of people that you see on the internet, some of them are just out of control. The voices in their head have taken over. The insecurity in their heads has taken over. The whatever it is that is not resolved, telling them that they ain't about nothing and they ain't worth nothing, it's just beating them up, and they're beating it back however they can and taking it out of whoever happens to be in their way. And other people are doing the best they know how, but they don't even understand how their work has not been done and how they are not aware of the work they need to do to be able to do what it is that they think they're doing. They're not fully aware. And then this is the other thing. You know why you don't want to spend too much time in watching what other people are doing and watching these fights that are going on and staying around with people that disturb your spirit for whatever reason? You know you're just as human as everybody else, and you got problems that you don't know about that you need to be working on. I said this in the second to last video. You know who Mr. Yan's worst enemy is? Mr. Yan. I have to spend a lot of time talking to the Lord about the problems that I have and ask Him to show me. I have an entire Bible. But see, I don't always remember to do what's in it. I don't, I've read it from cover to cover several times. I don't always remember. And even when I do know, I don't know how something applies to my situation right now. So I have to then go and spend time working on that. I can't be up here fighting with y'all all the time. No. I spend a real amount of time in ministry with people over the course of the day and, doing capitalism things, of course. But between doing all that, I don't have time. In 2023, you will not see me around any kind of internet fighting. I don't have time. I gotta work on me. And sometimes what you see on the internet is people, and in your real life, people who are not doing the work for whatever reason. They may not know how, they may not have support, they may not know where to start, they may not be resourced. So if you can help, great. But like I said, you got people out here who are basically walking around beating up everybody in their path because of what's going on in here, what's going on in here that's going wrong. And then you have people that are out here doing works that they may not be completely prepared to do, but they're doing the best they know how, and other things are being accomplished. But if it doesn't sit right with your spirit, you need to just let that go. Again, I'm gonna do this one more time. Guess what? When you get tired, we on the internet really do not exist. I'm still here, y'all, but I just wanted to be quiet long enough to give you the point. We do not really exist. And see, every minute that you spend doing something and hanging around with people who have lost their minds are moments that you may not be spending learning how to do your capitalistic things in the 21st century way. I marvel at everybody having all these conversations about, well, women should, men shouldn't have to bear the burden because we don't know how to do this and we don't know how to do that. There's 1,000 people trying to show you how. And women coming along talking about the man needs to do this and the man needs to do that. Well, there are things you can do from home that would help out that don't require you to be looking at them every day. There's all kind of information out there. But more to the point, because there's more important things than that. If you are a Christian, you need to spend some time working with this. So again, you can understand what it is that God wants and how he wants you to be led. I know that everybody doesn't know where Galatians 5:16, walk in the spirit and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. And Proverbs 3:5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. I know that not everybody knows what that is. I'm going to say that again, because if you don't know anything but these two verses, this will help you. Galatians 5:16, y'all can go on Google and jump on Bible Gateway and read it. And Proverbs 3:5 and 6 will help you. But after a while, if you're going to walk around and talk about how what a Christian you are, then you probably need to spend a little bit more time doing this in 2023, as opposed to reading and getting into everybody else's business. It might be helpful to you. The other thing is hanging around some of this stuff that's going on in this world when this stuff blows up. You know that black people out here killing each other 29 times a day. And if you count all the abuse, if you count all the attempts, if you count all the maiming, some of you may be aware of the trial going on for a certain gentleman named Tory for shooting a certain woman named Meg, allegedly. It has not been proven yet. And, a certain woman named Kelsey is about to get caught up, allegedly, because she told the prosecutors one thing and they got they got audio evidence of her doing something totally different. So, you spend time getting caught up in these fights that go to the left, and you in a community where your life is cheap. You might want to put some time into getting out of being surrounded by people for whom your life is cheap. But it's super important in 2023 that you back up as off of all unnecessary foolishness as much as possible. But online it's really easy. If you don't like what people have to say, you can make us disappear. I've already done that twice. Spare the time to be able to, like I said about the baby that we had in the last video, whatever it is you externally thought about, well, I need to do this for this child and this for this child and this for this child, do that for yourself. One of the things you want to do to put yourself around people that will nourish you is to take your attention away from people that won't. I keep giving you this lesson again and again and again and again because it's important. Because no one may have told you that you can reprogram your mind not to see the things that are constantly keeping you all upset. To just give you something that most of you are very concerned about. YouTube will feed you more legal ways to make money than you can work with. Literally, you will have too much opportunity. You just have to choose what it is you're going to do and what you have the nerve to do. If you trust in the Lord, He will point out to you what you should be doing. I literally talk about, okay, which of these projects do you want me to do and when do you want me to start them? And can you direct my path? And can you have me write this to do this over here? Like for real. And like I said, you have a whole new year about to be born, and you are about to be born into it. 2023 can be completely different for you than 2022 if you choose to change where you put your attention, as you choose to get away from people that are beating themselves up live and people who just don't sit right with you because where they are on their journey is not where you are on your journey. The choice is up to you. May I encourage you? Please stop hanging around with people that virtually are running down the street, karate chopping themselves and cussing themselves out. You wouldn't do that in real life. Please don't do this online next year. Please give your time and attention to things that help you grow. A lot of you have, well, we'll talk about another video. A lot of you have untapped creative ability that is just being swamped because you're giving so much energy to what does not serve you. I suggest, can't tell you what to do, can't make you do anything. I suggest that just like you wouldn't do that in real life, you might want to consider not doing it on the internet next year. And again, if anything says here does not sit right with your spirit, I will not be offended if you click me off and hit do not recommend. It is your right to do that. It will not offend me. There are plenty of people out there. I use myself as the most ruthless example. You can make me disappear if you want to. It is okay. You have the right. And if you can do it to me, you can do it to anybody else. You just click do not recommend. By the way, I heard somebody say do not recommend doesn't pay any attention. No, sometimes you need to tell it several times because YouTube is like me. I don't care what you tell me. I don't believe you till I see what you do. So I may test, 2, 3 times. I may need to find out you're serious. YouTube is a little bit like me. It'll keep throwing, if you've been listening to something for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, it'll keep throwing it back up there 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to make sure that you're serious. And if you peek, YouTube is like, she ain't about nothing. She still wants to look at it. I can still serve her some ads. I'm gonna throw this right back up here, and you'll have to do it twice. So when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you have to click do not recommend. You have to take them out of your search terms, and you have to stop peeking. If I do not want you in my YouTube feed, best believe you are not there. And you can make that happen to anybody you want to. You just have to be disciplined and you may have to make multiple attempts, particularly if that person is popular. But hey, the benefits of cleaning up your YouTube algorithm is that YouTube will begin to feed you opportunities and opportunities to learn about things that you want to learn about and things you don't even know that you want to learn about. I have good conversations with people based on things that I learned, which I did not get a chance to learn in science. So I can sit up and talk to atheists and use analogies that come from science and talk about determinism and superdeterminism and things like that and keep up. I learned yesterday about infinite cardinals. Y'all don't know, I'm not talking about the Catholic Church, but things that help me understand. Oh, so even mathematics is saying that there's life beyond the physical, that there's a realm beyond the physical universe, because we really do have math to show that. Oh, okay. So this relates to how quantum physics says that time is already completed, and the only thing we're really arguing about is there a designer of time or is there not? Oh, that's what I'm into. It may not be what you're into. I'm also into beekeeping and small farms and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I don't see the stuff I'm not interested in. I see what nourishes me. I see what I'm curious about. And you can make that happen too. But you have to be firm about it and make things disappear that need to disappear. You know, abracadabra. All right. Thank you for listening. Y'all have a good day. And a good weekend. I may be back on Sunday. Don't know yet. Don't know yet. Depends on what comes to mind. Don't get involved in these little virtual fights because, like I said, you wouldn't get involved with someone throwing haymakers in the air at the air in the street. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, y'all have a good day now. Goodbye. Thank you for listening. If I had my buttons in order, it really would. Bye.